Welcome to the number of the day, 2nd of February, 2026. And it feels like whatever was going up on the markets in January is coming down this early Feb. I'm joined by Akash. So the number of the day, 10%, because the price of gold has fallen by more than 10% since last Thursday. So that's not a crash, right? But pretty dramatic.
Yeah, not a crash. I mean, it has to be more than 20% off its all-time high or off the high for it to be a crash. But, that was the biggest drop since, 1983? Now, Francis, I know that in 1983 you weren't yet born.
Of course not.
No. But some of the big songs in 1983, All Night Long by Lionel Richie, Beat It by Michael Jackson, and something all South Africans love, Africa by Toto.
Oh, wow.
1983.
Okay, so that was the biggest one-day fall. Beat It maybe becomes relevant because this is about US President Donald Trump wanting Jerome Powell to scooch out of the Federal Reserve, the central bank in America. Then suddenly on Friday, so the big fear, just to bring people in, was that the independence of the Federal Reserve was under threat. Maybe somebody would come in who would be subservient to Trump and drop interest rates. He likes lower interest rates at the expense of the economy or despite inflation. Then we have this pick of Kevin Walsh, and suddenly the markets love it. What's actually happening is they're welcoming it, right?
Yeah, they're welcoming it because he served on the Fed way back, if I remember correctly, in 2006, when he did, by all indications, a very good job. He's seen as being very hawkish, and that means that he's not going to necessarily bow down to Trump's wish for lower interest rates in America. And that is good because overall, it brings a level of stability, which under Trump we haven't seen, and that cooled off the gold market.
Yeah, which isn't great for us. We've been benefiting from higher gold prices, better mining stocks, a better JSE, a stronger rand, but suddenly the dollar strengthened and the rand weakened. So it's all pretty topsy-turvy now. I don't know, the drama of it, does it make you think of those warnings that we could see a crash? Or am I being too over the top about that?
No, I think you're being too pessimistic because if we look at what drove gold higher, and let's look at it. Firstly, it was the fact that Donald Trump just caused issues all around the world. There was a lot of uncertainty created by his tariffs. He then went to Venezuela and captured, kidnapped, whatever word you choose to use, their president. And all of that uncertainty is what fueled the rising gold price. Is Donald Trump gone? No. Is he likely to attack Iran? Yes. And as a result, you could have uncertainty, instability in the future. Secondly, big governments, countries have been buying gold. And is that going to stop? No. Even our South African Reserve Bank continues to increase their stock of gold. Yeah. So the long-term forecast, according to the big banks and those in the know for gold, remains, some people are saying $6,400. It's going to breach 6,000. Is this a blip on the radar? Well, those in the know seem to think so.
So let's look at gold. $2,800 or so a year ago. Then it went above $5,500. So we may see six, but now it's come down to about 4,770. So for South Africans, you mean there could still be good gains on the market. And I guess something that affects everybody, we talk about a lot, is the fuel price. So the stronger rand has helped bring petrol prices down to 4-year lows, but we're still looking at a drop in fuel prices, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, come February, it seems like we're getting a fairly decent cut in fuel and diesel prices, which is great. That's one benefit to South Africa. But let's also remember that what's really driving the rand, what made the rand stronger, was really a weaker dollar. And after Friday's announcement of who the new Fed Reserve chairperson is going to be, the dollar strengthened. That's what drove gold down, but it's also what made our rand weaker. So the $1 million question, how does it affect South Africans? Well, I think in a number of different ways. Firstly, this is a great time if you're holding gold jewelry, and if you want to sell it, you're going to get the best potential price you possibly could. And if you have money and you want to invest in gold, well, there's two options. You invest in a gold ETF like New Gold. Alternatively, you buy the gold mining shares. And we know the resources index on the JSE, as you pointed out, has had a fantastic run. So, there's great opportunities if you have money.
And you have been following Bitcoin, which I would caution against, but I guess it's a buying opportunity because even when everything was going up, Bitcoin was still going down. Friday comes down even further. Well, it's going down, down, down.
Well, from what I've been able to pick up, one of the biggest reasons that Bitcoin fell was this uncertainty about funding in the American government. They kind of semi-closed as a government. One of the areas where there was a question mark over whether additional funding should be given was these immigration people who've been going around and terrorizing immigrants in America. So there's been a lot of discussion as to whether they deserve further funding or not. That hurt Bitcoin. It fell below a very crucial level of, I think it was about $86,000. There's a very strong support level that seems to be coming in at around $76,000. But if the Americans are able to solve the issue about funding in the American government, well, we could see a reversal and we could see Bitcoin climb. And if it carries on and they don't solve that funding issue, well, if Bitcoin drops to below $76, the next support level's probably at about $70,000.
To wrap it up, this says to me, and I hope you agree with me, that markets are still pretty vulnerable. Remember, we saw the crash in 2008, a global financial crisis. And people had written before then, and I reminded myself of the name. Taleb had spoken about a black swan event where things can just go down. And he said, basically, you never know when it's coming, and all you can do is protect yourself. So he was saying to people, put a stop loss on. So if your share price goes down by 10%, suddenly you start selling. What happened in 2008 is we saw this technology-fueled sell-off, right? Because everybody has those protections in place. And on Friday, analysts have certainly been saying it was dramatic. And I think people have been speculating, we know that, speculating en masse, climbing in when something is going up because momentum means it could keep going up. So you must certainly agree, just to wrap it up, that markets are still vulnerable.
Markets are exceptionally vulnerable, and as long as Trump is there, that's for the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to continue being vulnerable. But here's what's important. For every negative scenario that occurs, every challenge that occurs, every market retraction that occurs, there's an opportunity. And you just need to ensure that you position yourself to take advantage of that falling market when it happens so that you can enrich yourself.
All right, so gold down more than 10% from where it was just a few days ago on Thursday. We'll see how this week pans out. That was the number of the day.